What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another fantastic live stream. And we're just going to be looking at the Nasdaq and, of course, any other questions that kind of come in from the chat, and really kind of just maybe try to better understand and potentially look at what we could see in the market. Again, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know the future. There's just probabilities of things that could be going lower, going higher. We'll look at everything. Of course, you can put your opinions in the comments as well if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. But yeah, so we're currently just looking at the Nasdaq right now. It's up 43 points, which is it's not really that much compared to it was down over 4% on Friday. So let's get my drawing tool out here. So we're looking at the weekly chart of the Nasdaq. So doing the circle up here, it's a weekly chart going back 3 years, and looking at what potentially could some significant support, resistance levels, all that kind of stuff, and looking at that. Looks like Makeshift's already there. I don't know if Bear was able to make it in or not. Handle, what's up, my friend? The man, the myth, the legend. Appreciate it. It's definitely not been fun if you're a growth slash bullish investor. This market volatility will shake up even the best traders or investors. Even if you're trading on a daily chart, even on a weekly chart, these swings have been fairly drastic here. And to give you some like look at here, this level that we hit right up here, let me draw this with the circle here, this area up here, guess where that landed? It was the 618 from the previous swing high to low. So look at that. It nearly hit it to a T. That 618 failed at visually 15,300. And ever since then, we've been treacherously tanking lower here. Again, looking at a weekly chart, these are very large red candles on a weekly basis. If we switch this to the daily chart here, it kind of tells the same kind of pattern. It's still a very aggressive downtrend. Hey, what's up, Bear? Yeah, I was just talking about the market volatility that we're really seeing here, and potentially it's going to be here to stay for some time. On the daily chart, I normally do trade off the daily chart here, but since the volatility is so high, I want to zoom further out and almost like take a further perspective on the charts here. And rather than looking at the chop that we're seeing on the daily side, I really want to look at this at the weekly side. And there are some of the patterns potentially kind of coming in here. I got comments this week of like, hey, this is a double bottom, Ken. Technically speaking, no, because if you're a true hardest technical trader here, it's this candle right here of last week closed below all these wicks here. So that basically makes that an obsolete potential bottom there. But again, rules, schmools, who cares, right? Where are we going to be going? What could potentially be happening? Those red candles are pretty, says Bear. If you don't know, everyone, if you don't buy the name, Mr. Bear is a bear in the market, and he has been for some time. And we finally can give him some cred and give a little round of applause. Give yourself a pat on the back, Bear. I hope you've been doing well with some of those trades, because you've been taking some money out of my longer term investments for sure. But so the thing is, what I see really right in the market right now is some people are continuously thinking that we're still in 2020 or 2021. We're not in that market anymore. Like you can see here on this, from the bottom here in March of 2020, we've been pretty much going up in a 45-degree angle and just raking in money. Okay, this is insane in the membrane. This is something that cannot be sustained in any kind of market. I'm surprised that it sustained this long here. Yeah, that's insane, because each time it came down, look where it came down to. It came to the 21 EMA or the 34 EMA. And once it broke past the 34 EMA on the basically the second week of this year, that really large red candle, that shook. That rocked my world. It kind of put things in a very nasty place here. And then we really haven't recovered from that large drop since the beginning of January. If you remember, we did talk about January being a very volatile month, but that was a catastrophic fail. I think there was, how much were we down that month? We were down, yeah, almost 8% in the Nasdaq. That's substantial. And as you see that we're totally down at the worst at basically 23.5% from the all-time highs. So we are basically in a later stage correction. It's not a crash. A crash would be a little bit more drastic and a little bit more like faster. Like a crash would be something like we have happened during the zombie apocalypse here, where we saw basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 straight weeks of just negative pressure here. We're just getting like on and off chop here, kind of bouncing around here a little bit. People trying to get out of positions. People are like, oh, let's buy the dip, bro, or just trying to figure things like things are overblown, all this kind of stuff. But it really kind of comes down to a lot of the other stocks. You saw that a lot of the FANG stocks have reported earnings this past week. Amazon got killed. Facebook somehow slightly bounced back, but the previous earnings, they got killed. We had the Netflix. They have just been taken out to the woodshed, and you cannot catch us with a 10-foot pole. Like, you have to zoom out all the way to like a monthly chart. We're going back to levels that we saw way back in 2018. All right, that's how much that is insane. Look at those red candles. That is, people don't recover from this, to be quite honest with you. Like, these drops like this, it's gut-wrenching, painful. And I Godspeed to anyone who has those holdings there. That is a very tough one. We can look at Microsoft. They're kind of slightly holding up. They're kind of looking somewhat like the Nasdaq, or a little bit below the 55 EMA on the weekly side, and still a little bit of kind of a pattern coming through. We saw Apple really chop here as well. They're the only one that's slightly kind of holding up here, and really not really. If Apple starts breaking below like 152 and closing below that, that's when things could become concerning within the overall market, especially with the Nasdaq of Friday's close was down nearly 4%. That's treacherous. Selling zero DTM options or puts isn't working too well these days. I know, because the volatility is so high. They're drastically moving. How's Workday setting up for earnings? May 20th. What's up, my man? Workday. Let's look at Workday. So going to earnings, everything's a coin flip, right? You know this, Greg. I've preached this way far enough. On the daily chart, it's still in a treacherous downward trend. When to kind of look at the weekly side, it's still in a downward trend. We're not really finding any kind of support here. Excuse me. I want to look at the durations here. Yeah, we are kind of bouncing out. Like, extreme move would be below 180 here potentially in the next coming weeks. That would be outside of the 3 deviations, which is something quite insane to see here. But looking at the daily side, it is kind of chop. So when we look at that chop mentality, especially on the weekly side, this thing is down where it was basically, what is this, September of last year? This is September of 2020, basically, of this time. Workday is just, it's a great company. It's an integral part of HR, IT, hiring, all that kind of process. But I think they make money, which is great, right? But again, it's just too much unknowns, especially going to earnings. The setup, potentially, if we do get like some kind of crazy stuff coming from the Fed this week, of like, hey, we're not going to actually be raising so many rates this year, or we're going to only maybe do 55 basis point or 50 basis points or 75 basis points in May, because I think May is the next, or we're May 1st now, but May is the next time they're going to be raising rates. And from my understanding, they're looking at 50 basis points or higher. It would be very bullish if they said only 25 basis points due to the market volatility. But who knows what the Fed's going to say on that for sure. But workday, it's going to be hard to see what's going to be happening into earnings there, Greg, because it's just been chop, chop, chop. Like even with like this previous move here, that was a great move. That move here kind of took it down, and this move was kind of chop, chop as well. So it's something you just got to be very careful about. Like I would even say selling like the 180 puts would be worth it. I don't know. Like right now, the market's not set up for me to kind of make those kind of trades. And what I told Makeshift before going live was I'm just sitting on my hands a lot of the times. It's the worst thing, and it's the hardest thing for me to do. And I'm sure it's a lot of people struggle with it, where you just want to click buttons, you want to do trades, but you're just chopping your money. Like you're just killing yourself. You're slowly bleeding out money, because the way I trade and the way I invest is I do very well when the market's somewhat more steady. Right now, it's pretty good for trading premium and selling premium, but it's still very volatile and choppy, especially with some of the earnings moves that we've seen. Especially the Nasdaq down 4%. That's super scary, guys. that's scary. Yeah. John Jacob, what's up, my friend? NASCAR Out says, we are all good with ThinkScript. I went through the first 30 days of the IPO and shared red. And are you good with? I'm not really good with ThinkScript. No, a lot of stuff I kind of hack together on just basically what I pull from different forums on the internet and kind of put things together. But I do have like 2 or 3 books on the shelf that I need to kind of crack open and get a little better at with ThinkScript. Because the power of ThinkScript or even Thinkorswim, the scan tool, if you can really customize this, you can do some great stuff. Makeshift says, George Noble said that the hardest point about a bear market is staying out of it. Yes, 100%. 100%. Like Tesla. Look at Tesla. Like this is a bear would probably comply with this and agree with me on something. Is like, this is very topish right here. This is very, very kind of like, really failed limits on Tesla trying to break out here. It's just something that has not been fun. And this is one of my largest holdings. Like, I'm like, okay, let's go to the moon. Let's go to the moon. Let's go to the moon. I'm like, shit. But you have to reel in the expectations of, hey, this is not the market that was 2020 and 2021. Like things are going to be a little bit different here, and you have to really bring in that expectation. Same thing with MMM. You're asking about Nvidia. Yes, that's my second largest holding. That thing hit a limit on Friday for me when it broke drastically on Thursday. Sorry. It was Thursday where it closed the week I'm going to go to the daily chart, where it closed below the 198 level, which is something that I've been watching for ongoing support. That being said, it is very aggressive at this level to potentially to add to it due to my position. Again, speaking my own book, is my cost average is lower than this. So I'm still in the green. And this level does hold this 190-ish range. I will potentially be adding into Nvidia at this point. And this is something, and again, I'm talking about strictly stock. Like I'm not going to be buying call options or leaps on anything right now until we start seeing some kind of isolation. Because again, what do I mean by that? When the Nasdaq's down this much, and just seeing these very large candles going up and down, it's just something you just don't want to be touching with a 10-foot pole. One of my pals is down 350K in options market. I had to talk with this guy off the roof. Oh my god, man. That is insane. Godspeed to him. That really sucks. John says, I'm selling my house and going to buy 50 more shares next month, but if things don't improve much, I'm holding off. Yeah, John, exactly. Like, it's this game that we play, the market trading, market investing, all this kind of stuff that we enjoy and I think love. Like, I love talking about stocks, love the markets, everything that it brings, the good, the bad, the ugly. Is, hey, right now I can't do jack squat. I don't want to just throw willy nilly kind of cash into the market here because there isn't really consistently any patterns that I'm looking for in the growth stocks that I usually trade. A lot of people are talking about some home builders. Like, what is it? No, that's an IYT. That's a transport. What is it called? What's the home builder ETF? Does anyone remember the home builder ETF? Oh, yeah, John. If Tesla, we can look at Tesla. Like, Tesla's at this 55 EMA has been ongoing support for it. Like, the last time I added to it was actually when it went to like 700 because that was just way overdone in my opinion. But that being said, here I think we potentially could see something crazy happen here as well. If we start breaking below the 55 EMA and actually closing below it, that could be very treacherous. In the sense of Tesla. But so this 840 to like 800 level is what I'm looking at pretty think. IYR, let me think you make shift. Is that the one that's only like that's been read? Oh, I wrote that. IYR. Oh, this is a real estate. No, I was thinking of like I think it was strictly home builders. I'm just gonna Google this. Home builders ETF. Is it maybe here it is. ITB. This is it. This is the only one that was, maybe this wasn't it. What was I looking at? I don't know what I was looking at. Where it was basically, was it green? It was still down. But it was still, this is something that's potentially trying to bottom. Like, this thing hit a high of basically December. Again, the Nasdaq we talked about was slightly a little bit before that, I believe in November. Yeah, November was as high and it has never made its recovery. It tried a couple times here, basically going into the new year, but then once that new year hit, everyone just decided to do a about face and just really just take everything out to the woodshed. And we had that really enormous sell-off, and then we kind of bounced back a little bit more of a sell-off, people calling the bottom, made a huge rally higher, and then now we're doing another sell-off again. Like, so there's this thing within the mechanics of psychology that we talked about if you started to watch the live stream way back when COVID hit, where it's basically called like is it a V-shaped recovery, a W, or just an L? Where it's basically the sense of what could potentially happen. So a V-shaped recovery is what we saw over here. Like, it just came back and it just boom, went gangbusters, right? This one, more commonly, it's a W-shaped recovery or multiple forms of W's, aka chop chop. I've been saying chop chop for so many times now, it's hurting my brain. So this comes down, W this way, and then we potentially go higher, maybe, right? Or it could be a little bit more wishy-washy back and forth and kind of that wave chop chop method there. Oh, Bear says it's X. I just know it. I saw it was up. Maybe I could be smoking something, but it was positive for the day. XHB, this might have been it, but I thought it was positive. Maybe I was smoking something. I don't remember. Yeah, a lot of people like the home builders as a leading indicator because, again, it shows the signs of the economy. And so, same with IYT, which is the transports. This is the one that I have been told and kind of taught where this is something, because, again, this topped out in basically May of last year. And it tried again basically in that basically November timeframe with the Nasdaq. At that sense, it just has been chop, and now it's kind of breaking into these lower lows here, and breaking below. It's closing below this pretty significant level at 246. If this does want to come down lower, we're looking for around 230 or 220 for some levels of support here, due to the squeeze setting in place, increased volatility, and look at that amount of volume of selling pressures that's coming in. Yeah, insane in the membrane. It's definitely like an economic strength kind of indicator going forth there. But you don't inhale like Elon. I don't know what that means, John. Oh, smoking. Yes. Okay. I was sorry. It was lightly delayed. I got it. My brain. Housing will correct soon. Home builders isn't good. They're all set at. Isn't home builders isn't good. They are all at. Like, talk about correction. Remember, there's Zillow. Ooh, this stock was 208. Okay, 208. It's trading at $39 now. It's insane. Like, that was a lot of volume that kind of came into that time frame. Yes, their last like two earnings have been kind of nonchalant, especially the like three earnings ago, basically in November. This was just like a boom. This was rabbit season here. If you know Looney Tunes, this got taken out to the woodshed, and it has not really recovered because, again, this very aggressive downward trend. Look what we're looking at. The moving averages, it's barely getting above the 8. It's barely even getting to the 21. You can't touch it. DMC 8282. What's up? I'm buying 107 VIT and the 190 VIT. Let's go. What are you? Why? Oh, the Vanguard. Okay, you're just looking for a Vanguard recovery. Okay. Yeah. Godspeed to you, my friend. It is. You're buying leaps. What are you buying? Banks are showing a sign of weakness. Yeah, XLF. I did cut that on Friday, Bear. Like over 60% of my position. Once it broke below 35, I had to get out of it, taking a small loss on the stock. Options taking a little bit more than my initially 5 or 7%. But yeah, the banks definitely look weak here, even though everyone's like, oh, banks are going to be making a boatload of money because the interest rates go higher, and then the savings got to come in, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's quite insane on how much things have drastically changed in people's mindset. Like, speaking of mindset of people, ARK, right? You guys remember Kathy Wood? Does that ring a bell to anyone? Like, this thing has just been decimated. Absolutely decimated. This thing has just been bombed. This is going back to basically almost to where it was on the breakout coming into that range. That is something I just do not want to touch with a 10-foot pole. And you know, the one and only Piton, we called the Head and Shoulders here. I think I made a video on about it. I was like, this neckline's gonna break if it doesn't hold, and it just took that. Like, this was a short that I slightly played. Again, I don't play shorts very well and I don't put a lot of size behind it because I'm terrible at it. And I just always sell too early. It's just something that just doesn't click in my brain. It just doesn't work. Thank you, DMC. Yeah, it's getting more time to be able to stream and chat with everyone is always nice to have, especially in these hard times. We kind of need to stick together and kind of keep our chins up higher, right? Ken, do you play futures? Sometimes, like future options or just futures in particular. Like I usually just play the minis, if there are some crazy volatility days, just because. But I keep it on a very short leash. It's kind of how I get my trading in without buying too many stocks. I just maybe will trade the futures up or down for maybe $200 profit or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I completed. I did something today. I made a little bit of money. Bada bing, bada boom. I haven't played futures options very much. No. DFC 82 NNDM. Oh, what is that one at? I haven't looked at that one for a while. Oh, I thought that would be going lower, but that's not bad. It's definitely grinding lower here, which is not my favorite thing to see because again, I switched to the daily side here. It is aggressively not getting back above the 55 EMA here and just continuously grinding lower here. This is something that you just don't want to see because again, why and what happened here? This thing was definitely a pump and dump. Not a pump and dump is our own. A pump up due to Cathie Wood, just due to the crazy volatility. And then once the company starts buying and selling their own shares and taking that money to invest in R&D and things like that, that's usually hasta la vista baby kind of scenario. And again, with the higher rates of going through, with again lower money being printed into the system, all this kind of stuff, stuff's contracting, and this has just not been played out very well there. So when do we hit the bottom to buy Leap? Says Alan. I wish I could tell you that. That would be my multi-million-dollar trade there for sure. If I could tell you that, I would definitely share it with you. I promise. I crashed some UVX on same-day trades last week. I crushed. Oh, nice. Yeah, Yeah. That when you want to play those volatility things, like let's just look at straight at the VIX. Like this thing, I'm not always the greatest VIX kind of trader, but sorry, I'm gonna drink my lemon. But that being said, we can kind of look at what we're seeing in the VIX again. Are we going to see what we saw during the COVID high? Probably not. Like those happen every once in a decade. But what we're seeing now is definitely normal chop. If we start seeing the VIX break above, and what I'm looking at is the VIX, above 35 and stays above there, that would be slightly concerning. And another way like people kind of compare it to is again, we were up like over 12 13% on Friday here. Like that's a pretty large day for the VIX. Again, what is the VIX? It's basically people running out the fear gauge and they're buying puts in SPY or SPX to kind of cover their positions, buy insurance kind of scenario. Another way we can look at this is the P call, which is right here. And I wouldn't say we're getting close to it, but we are definitely in a very kind of chop bearish point. Once this gets like above 1, that's potentially there's just not many places to go. Handle says I traded you. Hey Ken, would you like to take a look at something? Yeah. again, I'll give you my thoughts. Again, I'm not a. I'll give you my, if you're open to my thoughts. So calls on the VIX. uh, I don't know how long you've been listening to Alan. Like, my basic advice right now is just sit on your hands. Just take your two hands, lift up your gluteus maximus, and just sit on them. Like, that is, I don't think there's going to be many people giving that advice because people always kind of want to be, and like, oh, I think Nvidia's bottomed. Da, da, da. Like, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I don't know. But what I know is the Nasdaq closed down nearly 4% on Friday. All right. And that's going to take a little bit more of the market to kind of digest that. Um, that's a very large move. Like, in the last like 4 weeks, we've been gone down pretty drastically. And that is, again, concerning on a lot of fronts. Could we have a somewhat of a rebound here? Yes. I don't want it to be completely negative. Could we bounce here? Yes. Where could we bounce to? Let me pull up just the Qs real fast. So looking at the weekly chart on the Qs, where could we be bouncing to? The easiest bounce would be going to potentially like the 350 range, would be bouncing back up to the 55 EMA on the weekly side, okay? But yeah. Ken, I got a job offer that I started on January 27th as a loan officer. My wife is a charge nurse just starting back to work. We retired at 43. Nice. Wow. Nurses are always needed, man. What does a loan officer do? For what kind of loans? Like small business loans, personal loans? Yeah, sit on your hands, Alan. Like, that's basically what I'm trying to do. Some days it's very hard to do. You're like, oh, Nvidia's down this much. I should buy 10 or 15 shares. I should just maybe just buy one, and fill that little demon that's in your head that's trying to peck at you to tell you to do something. It's something. Ooh, that's tough. Ooh, excuse me, yawning here. Oh, home loans, nice. Are home loans on like as declined as they all say they are? Because it just seems like everything you read in the paper, they're like, oh, the homes, people are having such a bad problem with this, da 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 da. What's LM? What does that mean? MLO is an awesome career path. Is that an officer? Dev Demo 11 says I picked up some cheap calls about 2 months ago on QQ. Hope we get a bounce. QQQ 2 months ago. So you must have bought like around 320 then? Yeah, that's something interesting. Could we have a bounce? I don't know, right, Dev? Like, this is the whole point. Like, we have to kind of sit back, watch, and just kind of see where the market goes. Theoretically speaking, where we kind of been heading the last like 3 or 4 weeks has been lower here. There has to be a point where it's like everyone just throws their hands up and the capitulation trade comes in, and then people start putting cash back into work and buying the like stocks. Like, what are they gonna buy? Like the FANG stocks. Like we talked about Netflix. Like, who the hell is buying Netflix and Facebook? Like Meta. Like, they literally said it's gonna take years before they make any profit within the multiverse or the virtual reality kind of word. Oh, 2 months out. Okay, sorry, my dyslexia kicking in. I picked up some cheap calls about 2 months out of QQ. Okay, so you buy. Okay, 2 months out. My bad. Um, Yeah, if you bought them at the money, Godspeed to you. Well, hopefully we do get a bounce. If we do continue going lower, I think the first level of support we can be looking at is basically 300, which is about 4 or 5% lower than we're at right now. We can kind of do this with a very simplistic Fibonacci retracement like this. Boom. Yeah, 300. That falls into the 78.6 percentile move. That falls in right in line with the 144 EMA here as well. So I think that I wouldn't say it's going to be a safe bet once we hit that level. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But technically speaking, we have broken the lows that we saw basically in is like the end of February into March kind of time frame, and now we're heading to May. And you know the famous saying, "Sell in May, go away," kind of scenario. So that could be definitely something that can kind of come into play and help the potentially further selling of the overall market. Oh, mortgage loan officer. Okay, I didn't know what that meant. I am totally not in that world. Yeah. Let's see here. Going at that, looks like the Nasdaq is up again, just 50 points, which is basically 0.38%. So nothing too exciting to report there. Is there any other stocks that people wanted to look at? I wanted to talk about GLD, which is gold. Even that has kind of come down drastically, closing into this past week here, gapping down basically for the week, which is quite strange, even though what is the safe haven for stocks? And I'm looking at here, looks like Live Person is kind of made a little bit of a green day. We have FXI, which is the Chinese large cap ETF, which is don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, look at this kind of market moves kind of coming into this one. Like this is the market's lower in FXI than it was during COVID, right? Like that's insane. BNGO, yes, this stock. I got a lot of flack because I said this is going to come down crashing like it did with the oil tankers. Like, this is the same kind of premise. Like, everyone gets all hyped about something. It gets on everyone's radar, and they just buy it up. And look, that huge volume kind of come in here, and then it kind of just makes a large drop, and it really doesn't do anything for a long time. And then once it breaks on like a bad report or some kind of test or trials come out that failed or whatever, and then it starts sinking quite drastically. What is the oil tanker? Is it TLC? No. Oh. I don't know. Remember when the oils went to completely negative rates, and the people had to buy and save all their oil in the oil tankers, and those kind of went up. I think that, yeah. UUP. Oh, the dollar. This is the DB US dollar index bullish ETF. Yeah, that's insane. I didn't actually see this before. Interesting. It looks like if that breaks to this level, put an alert for that, and then a break lower here. Kind of keep things on track, because again, looks pretty strong looking there. Let's see how that continues to go. That's a good share, Bear. Thank you. I watched Red Chip last night. Last night they push SPI. Yeah, nothing to say there. Look at that. Insane. Nothing to say there. Nothing to say there. Like, looking at just the overall like S&P 500 different divisions or indices, we're looking at materials. basically down 2% on Friday. We see at communications, which is your Facebook, Google's, and all this kind of stuff, down over nearly 3.5%. We see XLE, this is the energy ETF, down on up for the week, but down on Friday, nearly 3%. We have the financials down over nearly 3.5%. We have the industrial stuff getting really kind of bearish here as well. Like, look at this. We have made a nice move higher here, kind of been in this chop penalty box zone and have not been able to get out of it. And we're testing the lower band of it. That is not a very pretty setup in my opinion. XLK technology, not looking good as well. This is something that could potentially even be breaking lower again due to a lot of the larger FANG stocks. Consumer staples, the only one that's kind of in a more of a bullish kind of trend because it's above the 55 EMA and the 21 as well. Real estate as well, that did take a pretty large hit onto Friday and then the whole week, coming to a key level basically around 46, potentially even down to 45.5 to kind of see, and that holds there. Utilities, same kind of thing, came down drastically. Healthcare coming down to the 55 EMA. Let's see if those mother truckers can hold at that level due to a lot of misses on earnings. Alex says, Nvidia price predictions, please. Yes, I didn't actually cover it very much. So Nvidia is my second largest position holding. So we're looking at the weekly chart. And thank you for using your manners and saying please. Potentially, we've kind of broken past the 50 percentile move here, sadly, which is basically around 189. 189.81. So we're below that. So looking at that level to kind of see where we can go, we can do a very basic Fibonacci retracement. So swing high to swing low to swing high. We're coming into 179, potentially for some levels of support here. 179 to 183, but that is not significantly strong support levels. That being said, stronger support would be coming into the 144 EMA level, which would be around 162. And that is pretty far off, even though it has earnings coming around the corner on May 25th. So about 25 to 24 days away from now, they have earnings. Again, let's look at AMD in comparison. They already have hit their 144 EMA. So, yeah, not fun, right? Definitely breaking into newer, lower lows. So this is something to be concerning about. So if we go to the monthly chart, Nvidia has to, Nvidia has this, like, don't get me started. I used to trade Nvidia. I used to have like thousands of shares of Nvidia when it was basically in like 2012 into 2013. I should just hold on to it, right? But so looking at this here, we're coming into right to the 34 EMA on the monthly side. Monthly side, I'm not really too addicted to those charts because, again, it's only really best compelling with the overall indices in Nasdaq. Jay says, AMD weekly looks like a Head and Shoulders broke lower. AMD weekly looks like a Head and Shoulders breaking lower. Kind of. If you're doing these, like you're talking about this shoulder here and this shoulder here, and this is the neckline, I can kind of see that. I usually don't quantify those as a for me of how I technically trade, because it really comes into hit miss territory on if how different people perceive those kind of levels. So that being said, I usually more accurate in looking at the Fibonacci retracement levels with a combination of the moving averages and where price was previously, where we did see kind of a bounce coming into. And we saw previously a lot of consolidation, especially if, let me go back to Nvidia. Nvidia kind of coming in to this 183 to this 179 level. So that could be, yeah. Yeah, ATEX. So I don't really like to trade into earnings. That's my only concern. Due to Nvidia being a longer term holding, I have to hold it through earnings. That being said, it's all going to be coming down to guidance. We saw Apple say things about having more supply chain problems. Like if Nvidia and AMD come out and say they're having supply chain issues, we're not going to be able to get product on the shelf. We're going to have to delay customers' upgrade cycles, all this kind of stuff. That's not going to be fun to hear. And the short-term traders are just going to dump it. And we're just going to get maybe a pile on of some bears coming in and just kind of pushing the stock lower in that time frame due to the guidance they potentially could give on earnings. On the flip side, could they say something like, hey, we are not having any problems supplying chips and all this kind of stuff, which is, I want to be optimistic, but every other large company is saying that they're having shortages, all this kind of stuff continuously for the potentially the foreseeable future, aka the remainder of the year. But yeah, there will be coming a point, everyone, where the bad news will run out. People are saying they're going to see a dead cat bounce tomorrow. Yeah, so a dead cat bounce could be something where let me switch this to the daily chart, where we just kind of just not we kind of bounce higher. Not by higher, I don't mean like we're going to be breaking out to new all-time highs. We potentially can get a bounce here, maybe run up to like 325, if that. Like that's going to take a lot of energy, momentum, and a lot of buying power, and a lot of people, a lot of bulls to push it up back to that level. So a dead cat bounce would be, it kind of comes up, touches the 8 EMA, and then closes, and then the next day, aka Tuesday, you see that sell-off kind of continue, and you actually break previously lower than 312 here on the Nasdaq. So who knows what's going to happen, right? Just be ready for anything. Especially have some kind of set strategy or some kind of plan in place that you minimize losses that you could potentially take. I'm currently holding 150 shares on and perhaps we'll sell them tomorrow. Yeah, just have a plan, right? Just have an understanding. Like, are you looking to hold Nvidia for long periods of times? Maybe sell some call options against it. You have over 100 shares. You have the ability or power to do that. Like, do you need the money right now? Like, what like Nvidia is not going to be going away. It's just the stock's having a really shit year because of the overall market just been completely terrible. Yes, the market's been really good the past 2 years, and it's very common to see a slowdown and some chop for the foreseeable future, right? Like, unless you need that money right then and there, you're buying a house or whatever medical bills you need to get rid of, like, then it's okay to kind of like sell that and take that equity or take that capital to what you need it for that reason. But like if you have a foreseeable like interest in a company and you're not taking enormous losses, like I hope you didn't buy those 150 shares at 346, right? Like oh, it's AMD you're buying. Oh, even like, yeah, hopefully you didn't buy the 150 shares of 164 at 164 for AMD. Like that is definitely something that's not fun. Like definitely there's folks out there that bought AMD at above 164. So that is something to feel sorry, not feel sorry, but like the market has two tails, okay? There's the bull side, there's the bear side, and what Jim Cramer says, bulls make money, bears make money, but hogs get slaughtered. That's actually one of the only good things that I hear him say a lot, is that, yes, you can make money on both sides, but if you're going to get greedy and not really have a plan either way, which way you want to be looking at or trading, you're just going to get slaughtered out there and just have to pick a side. Oh, you bought them on Friday. Oh, okay, that's not bad. So AMD, you bought them on Friday, so Oh, okay. You bought them at like $85. Okay. Yeah. Again, just remember we have earnings coming out, right? It's on Tuesday. Yeah, it's on Tuesday. So you don't know where that coin's gonna flip. And if you first start tuning into the channel, earnings is very much a coin flip. Again, it's gonna be the numbers, the EPS is gonna come out, but then for AMD's case, what's her name? Sue. What's the CEO's name? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank now. Linda Sue. Wong. I forget who it was. She's gonna come out and say, hey, everything is looking okay, but we're having some headwinds with supplying product to our customers. And people are just going to read that print and be like, get out of here, sell the stock, even though the sad thing is a lot of people have such a short-term mindset within trading and investing. So if you just look at that's why the daily chart on a downward market's not fun to watch, especially to kind of zoom out to a weekly chart and kind of give you a better perspective of like where AMD was. Like AMD is currently trading at where it was basically last summer. Okay, so everyone who bought into last summer, you are back down to zero profit or even negative numbers potentially. We did talk about this time frame where it held the 55 EMA. It was spooling up with a nice squeeze that AMD was setting up nice, but that's clearly not the case anymore. It has kind of come down aggressively, kind of came down to these levels here, but let's kind of see what earnings comes out in for the rest of the week. Let's go take a looky-loo at the rest of the market here. Nasdaq, pretty much unchanged, still up 30 points. Again, not many people are going to be trading the futures. The big stuff's going to happen. It's going to be at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on Monday, when we're going to see, again, the first 30 minutes, remember, when we open up, is a complete shit show. There's just going to be so many people selling and buying, and really speculative trades happen within the first 30 minutes. If you have the patience, unless you have to get out of position ASAP, always kind of wait the first 30 minutes to kind of see where things settle. Well, only hope is Chinese markets close on Mondays and Tuesday. At least it's true. Good. Well, the Chinese market was actually looking better. If you look at FXI, their index, the Chinese ETF, was actually up for the week, right? It was up 4% compared to the Nasdaq being down 4%. So, anyways, if there's any more comments, questions, or concerns out there, please let me know before I sign off and hit the and head to bed for another long day of work and commuting, and just trying my very best not to go crazy and just throw in a bunch of capital on stocks that I shouldn't be buying. But anyone else out there, please put in the comment section if you have any questions or something like that. If not, I'm going to be signing off here in about 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll just hit you up if you have any more questions. If you haven't joined the Discord or anything like that, feel free to do that as well. Gonna give it about another 30 seconds or so. Like, yeah, Amazon down 15%. That's a disgusting move. Disgusting. Let's see. Bitcoin. I wonder if that's about Bitcoin, though, which is fine, surprising. I actually kind of like Bitcoin here, to be quite honest with you. The setup here, moving up to 40K again, but this level around 38, basically 38 to like 35, 38 to 37. If it holds, looks pretty sweet here. But if it's breaking below the 37K, then you might need to cut the position if you're just trading it. But yeah, we'll see what BTC does here soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming out and watching the live stream. I will try to be doing more videos, I promise, in the coming weeks. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it in the chat or join the Discord to reach out to me directly. All right, KB, later. Peace.